Welcome to Greater Good Radio Hawaii, where leaders inspire leaders. Greater Good Radio Hawaii is dedicated to social entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Evan Leong, and with me is my co-host, Carrie Leong.
Thank you, Evan. Today's guest is Barry Weinman. With over 2 decades of venture capital experience, his knowledge in financial management seems endless. Moreover, his familiarization in the technology industry makes him an instrumental figure in the promotion of the high-tech sector in the state of Hawaii. Barry currently serves as a trustee of the UH Foundation, chairman of the investment committee, and member of the board of Hawana Medical. Please welcome to Greater Good Radio, co-founder and managing director of Allegis Capital, Barry Weinman. Barry, how would you define your job, a venture capitalist?
Principally, we raise money, usually in a blind pool. We might raise that money from large corporations, wealthy families, endowments. And then we try to find entrepreneurs that have incredible ideas and have talent. And we invest in those entrepreneurs and try to help them build their companies and make them very, very successful, including becoming global companies, including becoming public companies. So basically we're coaches and we're also facilitators.
Can you give an example of maybe an entrepreneur that came in, kind of how it went, and boom, they went IPO or got a good acquisition?
Well, one of our best success stories is a company called Extreme. It's a gigabit Ethernet company. The entrepreneur had been part of a prior startup that was successful. There were a lot of gigabit Ethernet companies started in Silicon Valley. This was around 1997. But he had a different idea. His idea was to go outside of the U.S. and find customers who were non-U.S. customers and who wanted the same kind of technologies that U.S. companies did. That was, for us, a unique approach. We backed that company, and when he went public, and 2 years later, he had a $14 billion market cap from scratch.
How did you get started being a venture capitalist?
Well, I started on the other side. I was an entrepreneur. Together with my wife, Virginia, we built a software company in the 1970s. We were quite fortunate. We merged it with a larger company and had a public offering. And from that, we were able to take some of our own personal money and begin making angel-type investments. And then in 1980, together with a couple of other people, we launched a venture fund, very small at the time. $19 million. Today, a $19 million fund wouldn't even be listed in the venture capital directory.
When you went IPO, what made you want to invest or be an angel investor in other people's company instead of continuing to invest in yourself and maybe starting another company?
That's an interesting question, and some people come down on both sides of the equation on that. There are serial entrepreneurs who'll go back and do the next one and the next one and the next one. Hopefully maybe
They're
you
sick.
will. Yeah, they didn't get enough punishment the first time, so they're going to go back and get punished the second time. On the other side of the coin, people who have gone through that process have a very valuable learning experience. It's not book learning, it's real practical experience. And it's hard. It's very hard to go from a startup through all of the funding processes, through building your business big enough. Usually it has to be more than a single product. It has to be more than just a single market in order to be a successful public company. And what you do is you learn an awful lot. And if you're inclined to want to share that, you tend to go into something like angel investing or venture capital investing and leverage yourself that way. So instead of doing one more startup, I mean, I've been involved in over 70 public companies, not personally, but through our venture fund. And we could never do that as an individual.
What were some of the lessons that you learned while you were taking that first company public?
Well, the most important lesson I always say to entrepreneurs is you've got to focus. People get distracted when they do startups. There's changes in costs that's necessary and quite frequent, actually. You start out on one path and maybe you have to move. But you can get distracted. You can focus on the wrong issues. You can worry about too many ideas and try to get into too many markets. You can have too many products. You can worry about the structure of the deal. You can worry about who's doing what in the company and what their titles are. All of those are irrelevant. The thing that's relevant is focus, focus, focus.
Well, how do you know what to focus on?
Well, that's what separates a great entrepreneur just from somebody who wants to start a company. They have to have a vision. They have to be able to articulate that vision in a very simple way. I don't like to see vision statements more than 1 or 2 sentences at the most. Then they have to understand what their mission is within that vision. So if they have this very broad vision of what's going to change in the world, then they have to say, what place do I want to play in that? And that becomes their mission statement. That's what they have to focus on, and they have to remember, don't vary from the mission. Then they have to do all of the steps necessary to execute on the mission. To build the product, they have to build the team, they have to build the market. But at least they know where they're going.
Did you have all that when you first were in that company? Okay.
Actually, it may sound a little self-serving, but we did. But we did for a different reason. We got into our own business more by accident. I was a national marketing manager for manufacturing systems for IBM, and my wife, Virginia, was a developer in the IBM Santa Teresa labs down in San Jose, and she was working on manufacturing systems. And IBM was the leader, but only for big computer systems. So very, very large, multi-million dollars, and only very large companies could afford those systems. And what we kept hoping was that IBM would go after mid-size and small businesses with smaller computers. But that was not in their horizon or vision. And so when we had the opportunity to do that, we were focused on that market. We had a single product, and we became a global company in that specific area.
Did you have distractions, and then you determined that, no, we're not going to get distracted this way, we're going to stay on this course? Every
day somebody would walk into our office and try to move us slightly from where we were. Well, instead of manufacturing, how about accounting? And instead of accounting, how about a sales system? All of these were good ideas, but they're distractions. We became very good at what we did and what we knew by staying focused.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for more on Greater Good Radio.